You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We've got a lot to cover. I know I say that on every podcast these days. There's so much news breaking constantly, isn't there? I mean, it's absolutely amazing stuff is going on. I want to first start, though, talking about the Liberty Safe scandal, because this broke yesterday, and I knew there would be developments. Liberty Safe has responded. I'll tell you guys everything that has happened.
You told me about this morning. I couldn't believe this.
Yeah, let me tell you.
This just blows my mind.
Let me tell you guys everything that's happened, and I want to start though by the person. Before I tell you what had happened, the person that started all of this posted a message about it on Twitter. Okay,
okay.
So let me just start with that, because this guy, he's the person that started the whole thing. And then we'll fill in some more information, and Liberty Safe has responded. Okay.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Nathan Hughes, and I'm the guy at the center of this whole Liberty Safe controversy going on right now. As many of y'all know, last week I was raided by the FBI, and my house was searched over some January 6th allegations. I guess the FBI called Liberty Safes, and Liberty Safes gave them a master code to get into my gun safe. I didn't even know that was a thing, and I'd come home to see that my safe is open after I got out of jail. So pretty crazy. I didn't know safe companies would do that. So I feel like a lot of our gun safes are not actually safe. So I just wanted to thank everybody for their support, and just say, hey, I'm going to face these allegations head on, and probably not going to do any media appearances. I've had a few different people reach out from New York Times and some other ones. Not doing any media stuff right now, and I'm going to keep my head down and get through these next 6 to 12 months and see what happens. So just appreciate everybody's support, and have a good one. Thanks.
Okay, so he probably has already talked too much because he's facing federal charges, so you don't want to be talking. And he is smart not to do interviews. Okay, so this story broke yesterday, and it was all over social media, that Liberty Safe did what they just said, gave the feds a master combination to get inside of his safe, so when they raided his house, they could just punch right in and get inside of his safe. And Liberty Safes are not just gun safes. People have safes for all kinds of things. Sometimes it's just personal family documents, because if there's a fire or something like that. So they're not just for guns. And I don't even know if they're primarily for guns. People have safes for all kinds of things in their home: jewelry, documents, guns, and precious metals and things like this. People have safes for all kinds of things. So this story came out yesterday that this had happened, and people, rightly so, like you and me, shocked that this happened. First, it's shocking, I think, to people, I did not know this, that there are master codes on these safes that the safe companies own, and that means that your safe really isn't all that safe. If somebody can hack into their database and get that, and this has happened. Remember, there was like a
it's kind of ironic that it's
there's
called a safe there.
There's been privacy breaches at major retailers with debit cards. I've had my debit card skimmed. Remember 5 years ago or so, 5 or 10 years ago, there was a big thing with Ashley Madison where people got in, got all the people's private information, and then all got out, and they things all over the internet. If there's a master database of everyone who has bought a safe, and there are master codes, how many master codes can there be? That's pretty alarming to people. And the thing about Liberty Safe pretty much exclusively did their marketing towards conservatives, not just in the name Liberty. They did advertising with people like Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, and others. And I told this story on
that was their target audience.
Yeah,
their market there.
I told this story on the radio this morning, but I want to tell it again quickly for people that missed this, because it was very into the show this morning. And Steve and I had an opportunity to promote Liberty Safe a few years ago. And it was a pretty lucrative deal. And Steve said, the way it came out was kind of funny. Steve says, okay, we could do it, but you, Brian, are doing the live endorsement, not me. And I didn't think about this too much because everyone was doing them. Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, a bunch of other conservatives were doing the Liberty Safe. I don't know if Rush did or not. I can't remember. You guys remember? And I said, okay. But he was like, it was kind of like, you'll do the endorsement. He said, I'm not going to do the endorsement.
Why didn't he want to?
Well, when I tell you, it'd make perfect sense. So if you remember those Liberty Safe commercials, they were personal endorsements. And Steve said, he says, every time you do a personal endorsement for them, you're telling people in the audience to come rob your house. He said, because you're telling people you have a safe, what kind of safe you have. And he says, if you listen to them, the other commercials on other radio stations, they even tell you where they have the safe. So he says, I don't really think it's a smart idea to do a personal endorsement on the radio with a safe telling people what kind of safe you have and where it's at. And he said
I agree with that.
What they wanted us to do was advertise this safe that Glenn Beck was advertising, which has wheels on it. And Steve said, he says, that's even worse. He says, you're telling people you have a safe, what kind of safe you have, where it's at in your house, and that it's on wheels, so only one burglar needs to break in. He could just wheel it out your front door and just roll it into the back of his truck and drive off with your safe. Yeah. He says, and I said, oh, yeah. I said, okay. So we didn't do it.
Right.
And this was...
Makes sense.
This was a few years ago, and I'd forgotten all about it. But it's kind of funny when you think about it, isn't it, to do a thing like that? So we're not involved in any of this Liberty Safe stuff because of that. And I'm really glad that we're not, because if we had a Liberty Safe right now, we have bulk day every week. Once a week, our garbage comes, and they'll take pretty much anything you put out to be picked up. If we had a Liberty Safe now, I would have it out for bulk pickup this week. I wouldn't use it anymore because it's not safe. It is not
What I'd
safe.
like to know is this standard protocol with safe companies where the FBI can access is this just exclusive to them? Did they cave? Or is this standard according to the law? If this is standard according to the law, then I'm not going to blame the company as much because that might be the regulation and how it works. But I've never heard of such a thing. But maybe it's happened and nobody's gone on social media to talk about it. Maybe this was a special circumstance because of January 6th.
No, Kathy.
And all this, but whatever it is.
No, it's not. A lot of things here have happened.
Scary.
First, I don't think very many people, and I don't think the general public of consumers had any idea that there's a master code to open up a safe that you buy from a company like this.
Is that with every safe company or just this company?
Well, if it is, we're going to find out because people are going to be talking about it, and the safe business is going to have to make some changes. So that's one issue.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and a lot of people are thinking this, and I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. This makes a lot of sense to me. You got to wonder, are companies like this, like government companies that the deep state owns and runs and have infiltrated, like
that was my
like
first
the media.
Thought. Maybe the CIA owns this company, and it's a way of finding out who's buying. I have a friend who owns a lot of guns.
They're in the gun business.
They're in the gun business, so they own a lot of guns and they have gun safes and all this. And if you buy from a company like this, and say they report to the government or are owned by the government and you don't know that, do they report to the government, hey, this guy owns 4 gun safes? I mean, if you own 4 gun safes or 5 gun safes, they're going to know this guy's got some guns, and they might think more than he needs. But it could be
other things in there too.
Well, but still, if there's different kinds of safes, okay? If you have a small safe, people are going to assume that's for money, jewelry, whatever. But if you have a gun safe, which are larger, they usually go on the floor and they're, they hold rifles and stuff, some of them. And you get a large gun safe. People are going to assume, okay, they've got rifles, they've got whatever. So I'm wondering, do they report that and maybe you don't know that? It's unbeknownst to you. Or are they working with the government? Like you said to me, how did the FBI know this guy even did they go in his house and see that he had a safe?
We don't really know.
Get the number?
A lot of people,
or did they know before?
A lot of people are speculating. We don't really know the answer to that.
I'd like to know.
But one thing we know okay? There's a couple things we know. One, Liberty Safe almost exclusively, if not exclusively, advertised to conservatives for years.
Exactly. Which
After
is strange.
After January 6th, the feds went to all the banking institutions and requested information on credit card and debit card transactions of anybody in the area of the Capitol. And they got that data. So they might have gone to Liberty Safe in the same way they went to Bank of America and these other things and just said, give us your data. We want to know.
What were they searching for in this guy's safe?
We don't know. Now, his was a gun safe, but, when
they want to see what kind of guns he has.
Well, when they broke into, I don't think it's just about guns. I just think it's in general that there's no privacy. And
no, I know, but what were they looking for specifically? Why did they want to get into that safe?
We don't know. We don't know. I'd like to know how they knew he had a safe, and how they knew it was a Liberty safe. When the FBI broke into Mar-a-Lago last year, they broke into Donald Trump's safe.
They had a safe cracker.
They brought a safe cracker, and so goes the story. They're obsessed with safes. This is absurd. And
the safe business is going to be in trouble after this. And after Mar-a-Lago, I would think those two things combined are going to make people very wary of having these things in their home.
These financial institutions gave the feds banking, debit card and credit card transactions from the Washington, D.C. area after January. They gave all that information away.
Are they obligated to do that by law?
This is what I know. I don't know, but this is what I know.
Yeah.
The internet companies, like Apple in particular, okay, I should have looked this up because I'd forgotten when this was, but a few years back, there was an Islamic terrorist attack at an office building in California. There was a husband and wife who shot up. Remember, they shot up a Christmas party at an office building where they worked, and it was a husband and wife, and they were Muslim. It was a terrorist attack.
I remember that.
The feds, and I can't remember when it happened, was Obama president or Trump then? It's been a few years. But the feds went to Apple and wanted Apple to break into their iCloud accounts and their iPhone so they could find out if they were part of a larger terror cell. And Apple wouldn't do it. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? If it was people involved with J6, I bet Apple would have done it.
Oh, yeah.
Gladly.
Absolutely.
Very gladly.
So internet companies have refused to comply for privacy reasons.
Yeah, when it comes to liberals.
But when it comes to conservatives, there's no similar thing. So this is very concerning to people, obviously, and people have been calling since yesterday. Liberty Safe is the Bud Light of the safe industry, and it's done.
You would think that a safe company that has a market of that targets conservatives for their market, for their sales, you would think that they would fight a little harder to protect your privacy. If that's, you know what I mean? If that's how and they're called Liberty Safe. I mean, if that's how they're marketing themselves and they're going after conservatives for their audience to sell things to, where they're advertising, you buy that with the assumption going in that this is really well protected. And this is, so you said they made a response. The safe company responded
So
to
Liberty
this.
Safe is in panic mode right now, and they've released a statement. And this is in the Post Millennial. And if you're not familiar with the Post Millennial, it's the postmillennial.com. It's a conservative news website out of Canada, but they have all the news in our country. Okay, and I go to there every day, at least once a day. The postmillennial.com. This is their story. Following backlash over its decision to provide the FBI with the code for alleged January 6 riot attendee Nathan Hughes, his gun locker, that's who we, just played the clip from, Liberty Safe has issued a statement reversing course. Under its new policies, customers will have the ability to remove their combination from the database if they so choose, and the company will only comply with law enforcement when subpoenaed. Okay.
Oh, they weren't even subpoenaed when they did this.
The story I heard yesterday was that they were. So I don't know if they were or they weren't at this point, but I know this. Who is going to trust them to not have your combination in their database?
Nobody.
Who's going to trust them?
Nobody. I think they're done.
No. And, let me tell you there's no need for this master code. My grandfather was he was a police officer for 35 years, and he retired to Florida. And, these guys retire. He was in World War II. He got out of the Army and became a police officer. So he retired from the police department when he was like my age that I am today. And he moved to Florida. And you know how these guys are. They don't, too young to not do anything. And he became a locksmith. And people would call him for all kinds of things, locked out of the car. This was like back in the late 70s and early 80s. So, like 78 to 82. Mm-hmm. And so things weren't electronic like they are today. And people would call him for all kinds, locked out of their house. He could pick his way in. He learned a lot of this as a cop, break into the car, do all this stuff. But sometimes, and install locks and everything, but sometimes it involves safes at businesses. And I used to go with him. I'd come stay with my grandparents during the summer. And when he would get he didn't have he had a truck that made a lot of noise because it was filled with keys that were always jangling. And it was a work truck. He could do all the work in the truck. And one time,
did he make good money doing that?
I don't know. I was a kid, but it was just like something to keep him busy. It was just something to keep him busy and pocket money, and it kind of some extension of law enforcement, I guess, because it involved security. And this was in a small town here in Florida, Okeechobee, Florida. And I used to stay with him during the summer, and I'd go out with him on locksmithing calls. The local Burger King had gotten broken into, and the burglars tried to get into the safe, and they couldn't, but they broke the combination dial off. So they hired my grandfather to break into their safe, and I broke into the safe with him.
How'd he do it?
It was unbelievable. Drilled into it, and he had actually the plans for this kind of safe.
Oh my goodness!
There was no internet. This was like 1981. Yeah, there was no internet. He had all these books and everything. He had the plans for this type of safe, and drilled into it. And let me tell you, it was something else. It was a 3-man job, but it was I guess kind of like in the movies. He knew right what he looked on the plans, and he marked the safe right in the spot where he had the drill, and it was a thick safe, and he was drilling, and I was behind him helping him hold the drill, but that was just for because I was a little kid. He was trying to get me involved, because so I've actually broken into it, but that's how it used to be. Yeah. This idea that there's some master code that you call someone and get. That's insane. And if that's the way safes are, safes aren't safe.
I don't think that's the way they are, because if they were all that way, they would have gotten the master code for Trump's safe. And the fact that they had to get a safe cracker involved tells me that whatever safe he has, they do not have a master code, or the company.
Kathy,
this is what makes me suspicious of this Liberty Safe, because Trump, whatever safe company he had, they didn't give them the key.
There's a difference. President Trump is super rich. He's a multi-billionaire. Liberty Safe are for people like us, like retail buyers.
Right.
He doesn't buy retail safes like we do.
No,
he buys real safes.
He has safes like they have at the bank.
Yeah, he has like real safes.
Yeah.
Okay, you understand what I mean?
I'm saying, so it might not be across the board.
He doesn't have that kind of safe like regular people could buy. Okay.
It's
a different thing.
Because I told you when I was a kid, my dad had our old house. He doesn't live there anymore, but our old house in Fort Lauderdale, he built like a secret compartment in his closet.
Yeah.
And behind the wood paneling. Everybody had wood paneling back then.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd pull out the paneling, and there was like a big hole in the closet, and he had it built that way. And then when you close the paneling, you couldn't tell. And so he came and showed me one time. He says, I'm going to show you something. And I was like 13. And I said, so I'm thinking he's like keeping gold or money. He kept fishing reels because he was an angler on a fishing team. And when he was, in his 40s, and he's and I said, you keep fishing poles in here, fishing reels? He said, Kathy, these are worth thousands and thousands of dollars because they're professional grade fishing reels. And he was the angler on the team. And they would fish for big prizes. I mean, thousands and thousands. So he had a little compartment in the house for his fishing reels, but I don't think he kept money, maybe some money or anything like that. But I don't know, maybe people are going to start coming up with their own little thing in the floorboards, or you can find hiding places anywhere, I guess.
A few things are happening here, okay? This is very important with Liberty Safe. I remember after 9/11, okay, when the Patriot Act came in, which has been so overused. The Patriot Act is probably what they use to get to Liberty Safe here, right?
Probably.
But the Patriot Act, which was sold to us by Bush, which was a very bad idea. And it was only supposed to be temporary. And then they changed the name of it and they've extended it forever. And now it's just the way it is. They used the Patriot Act to get those warrants to spy on Trump Tower. The FISA courts are part of the Patriot Act. Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah. So thanks. But after 9/11.
Well, his father was in the CIA, wasn't he?
And FBI.
Well, there you go. So that's where they're coming from.
After 9/11, liberals were defending Muslim terrorists in this country, okay, because we didn't have the Patriot Act, and there was a loophole on getting warrants, okay, for phones. You could not get general warrants back then for payphones. In fact, if you go back, you'll see this sometimes in gangster movies. If you go back and watch Goodfellas, there's a whole scene in Goodfellas about this, about how Paulie would never talk on the phone. Paulie was Paul Sorvino in Goodfellas, and he would always have his guys call from payphones.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Because payphones are public. Prior to 9/11, the government couldn't get a warrant on a payphone.
Right.
They could get a warrant on a payphone for a particular time, a little thing, but not permanent, like you could on home phones. And after 9/11, it had come out that terrorists in this country were communicating with Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan over payphones and businesses and on the street and everything. And they at least that's the story George Bush sold us. And they use things like that for the Patriot Act
Well, we know
to protect us from terrorists.
He's a big liar.
So then after that, they could get a general warrant on payphones or a public phone in a business or something that they couldn't get before. So now here we are since January 6th, and since Trump came down the escalator, and we're finding out that the Patriot Act is being used against American citizens. The spying on Trump Tower was through the Patriot Act on President Trump. And this Liberty Safe is on the Patriot Act. This whole thing about getting the bank records from everyone in D.C. that day and the credit card transactions and such, that's all Patriot Act.
All they have to do is...
Well, all they have to do is repeal the damn Patriot Act.
Well, yeah, Trump should do that. I was reading DeSantis had appointed the head of Moms of Liberty to some board in the government, and all the liberals were freaking out. Moms of Liberty is that group that has worked in Florida, and they've probably gone beyond Florida to get certain books and things out of schools that are very explicit. And they have been dubbed by, what's that one organization that...
ADL? The Southern Poverty Law Center.
Southern Poverty Law Center has declared them a terrorist organization. Can you imagine a group of mothers that are conservative? And that's all you need is some government group to declare you a terrorist organization. And that's like the door. They open that door, and they could probably legally start looking into their homes and bank accounts.
Correct.
And that gives them that opportunity. That's the kind of stuff that happens in communist China. It's happening here now.
It happens in America. So this loss of liberty through this Liberty Safe thing that's been exposed, which is just, I think people are shocked by this.
Has it hurt their business? Do you know?
It's been a day.
Oh, I think it definitely will have an effect.
I have read some articles that said people are canceling orders and people are doing returns.
Now, are Glenn Beck and Hanny them going to keep promoting them?
I have not heard a Liberty Safe commercial in a long time. I think they've gotten embedded in people's minds, and they haven't been doing as much advertising as they used to.
Okay.
But there's one commercial that Hannity did that I saw on Twitter yesterday. He was talking. He had a whole commercial about how he lost his combination to his Liberty Safe, and he lost the key, and he just called Liberty Safe, and they gave him a code to get back in his safe and got him all set up. That was part of his promotion for them when he was doing
that would make
commercials
me a
for
little
them.
concerned.
Yeah, so that's what but this loss of liberty that's going on in this country is much worse than we ever realized, much more than we ever expected. And don't say, well, this guy was in January 6th and all that stuff. Liberty Safe. What happened with Liberty Safe is frightening the people, and you know what? It should be. I was talking to.
But you told me you don't even feel comfortable having things in a bank safe sometimes.
Well, you see what happens.
You get nervous about deposit boxes too.
You see, you hear about people getting debanked all the time. People getting told by their bank you can no longer bank here.
So will they give you access to your deposit box to get your things?
Who knows what they'll do?
You could show up to do it, and they might say, "Sorry, Charlie."
Knows? But see, in this day and age, when everything is so electronic, see, this is part of what happened with when the when Instagram, Facebook, even going back to the MySpace, you got MySpace, Facebook, and Instagram. I left Twitter out because those are different, but the expectation of privacy through the social media was eroded by people. And as conservatives, we believe in the right to privacy and think it's very important. It's in our Constitution and everything else.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, but the general population that aren't conservatives really have no expectation of privacy.
Nor do they seem to want it.
No, and what you're seeing with this erosion of our liberties, like with this Liberty Safe thing, is 20 years of the internet or plus, and what it's done to the expectation of privacy in this
Liberals
country.
seem to think that when it comes to conservatives, that whatever needs to happen to destroy us or to hurt us is totally justified, even if it's against the law. If you're a law-abiding citizen, they still see you as a dangerous person, and they feel that the government should just have the right to do whatever they need to do because you're a danger, and that's justified in their mind. They don't even like these young people and people on the left. They don't even care if your rights are being violated. Meanwhile, they'll let criminals run free in these that are drug addicts and crime in New York City. They're total because they're all liberals. They're cool with that. But law-abiding, working hard, hard-working conservative Christians, we're the danger, and they need to get into our banks and our safes and everything.
Well, see, here's the thing with the safes, okay? Businesses go online from in-person retail buying, and this is what happens. There still are, not too many, but there still are actual safe stores that you can walk into and buy. Steve and I did an event.
Where did you used to go back in the day? Who sold them? Like Sears, maybe? Radio Shack?
Last year, Steve and I did an event at a gun range with some listeners, and they had a safe store in the gun shop. And these were not Liberty Safe. These were like old-fashioned safes, probably like Trump has. And they had safes for every budget, but some of those safes cost more than cars that you would own, guys.
Oh,
I was blown away. And
Where do you keep those? In your garage, I guess.
Some of them are for businesses and things like this.
Yeah.
And when so much business, certain things go online. Like I gave you an example. I was talking to one of the guys that, William Youngerman, who's our gold and precious metal dealer on the Steve Kane show on the radio in the morning. I was talking to one of the guys that work over there. And we were talking about these online companies that sell the metals. This is crazy. First off, they charge too much for the metals, okay? If you go to William Youngerman, even if you're out of town and you call him, you will get your gold, silver, platinum, and palladium cheaper than any of these online companies.
That's true.
They jack up the prices like crazy, so you want to call William Youngerman. And I was talking to one of the guys that worked for William Youngerman about that. Well, I was comparing the prices that he sells it compared to these online places. And he says, yeah, plus you're calling some telemarketer to buy gold and silver and having it shipped to your house. Who's that guy? Is he working from his house?
Exactly.
And he knows how much gold you bought and the address where it was shipped.
True.
So we do so much business online now, buying safes and things like this. You are giving out so much of your private business away and opening yourself up so much to things. It's really not that smart. But Liberty Safe is done. They're going to go the way of Bud Light. The conservative MAGA movement had a big victory with Bud Light after that Dylan Mulvaney thing, and that gets transferred. And Liberty Safe, it's got to be over 90% of their customer base have to be MAGA people, conservative people.
That's who they market to.
And MAGA has said, we're done with Liberty Safe. Liberty Safe will not survive this. They will probably, if they stay in business, they'll have to change their name. Like there was a major airplane crash in the 1990s here in Florida, out of Miami. That airlines they changed their name. ValueJet. Remember the ValueJet crash? They changed their name of the airline.
You had to fly right after that
on that airline. Had an emergency flight to come see you, and. And it was right after this crash.
That was awful.
It was when they first started flying after this massive crash in Miami.
In the Everglades it happened, not in Miami.
And no survivors. Yeah. And I had to fly actually with your mother to Atlanta to see you. You had an emergency. You're in the hospital. And it was when they first started flying after this massive crash, and we were in coach. I don't even think they had first class on value jet.
No.
And it was free alcohol for everybody on board. We didn't even ask for it. They just said free alcohol, everyone on board. So I was drinking whiskey and stuff on the plane. And when we landed, everyone applauded. And I said to your mother, I said, really? If everyone's so happy that we're alive and they're applauding when we land, should we be flying on this airline?
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah,
I'm shocked you did.
But anyway, there's this thing with Liberty Safe. They are done worse than Budweiser because Budweiser, they have other brands, and not everybody that buys Budweiser beer and Budweiser products are MAGA. When it comes to Liberty Safe, their customer base is almost 100% would be my guess MAGA people, and that they're done.
Well, I think people that own other safes are going to be calling the company, and if they find out that this is standard practice across the board, a lot of people might be throwing out their safes and not buying anymore.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Oh, man, we've just scratched the surface. We have so much more to talk about. We'll be back right after this.
Are you looking to kickstart a transformative fitness journey? Then visit fitnessjourneypro.com, your one-stop shop for all your fitness needs. Your commitment to health deserves the best, and fitnessjourneypro.com's pledge is to guide you on an extraordinary transformation, ensuring every step you take is empowered. From high-quality gym gear to the right supplements, they've got everything you need. Add new workout attire to your wardrobe and feel unstoppable. Turn your aspirations into achievement. Whether you're setting up your home gym, hunting for the best supplements, or craving stylish workout attire, FitnessJourneyPro.com has you covered. Are you ready to embark on a journey to fitness excellence? Discover, explore, and shop now at FitnessJourneyPro.com. Your ultimate fitness destination awaits. FitnessJourneyPro.com. Hey, coffee lovers, wake up to the aroma of Izzy's Organic Coffee. Izzy's Organic Coffee was founded by coffee lovers who have turned it into a mission, and that's providing you with the world's finest beans, passionately sourced from places like Peru, Honduras, and Colombia. Imagine sipping on delightful flavors like pumpkin spice on a cozy autumn day, the richness of mocha on a chilled morning, or the cool touch of mint during a summer sunset. And for the evening, Izzy's Organic Coffee has the smoothest decaf blends you'll find anywhere. Each bean at Izzy's Organic Coffee tells a story of a small-scale organic farm, a story of the farmer's dedication and their promise to sustainability. When you sip Izzy's Organic Coffee, you're not just tasting coffee, you're experiencing a legacy. Izzy's Organic Coffee isn't just coffee, it's a world where quality, sustainability, and passion brew together. Join the journey one cup at a time and order your fresh brew right now at izzycoffee.com. That's izzycoffee.com. Discover, savor, love. izzycoffee.com. In every child's heart lies a question, one that shapes the world around them. And that question is the title of the new book from author Divine. Daddy, what is love and what does love look like? Journey with young Ashanti as she sets out to unravel this timeless mystery. From the warmth of morning pancakes to the joys of heartfelt cheers, explore the mosaic of moments that weave the tapestry of love. Daddy, what is love and what does love look like is more than just a children's book. It's a reflection on life's simplest yet most profound emotion seen through a child's curious eyes. With every page, readers will find themselves transported, experiencing love's essence in its purest form. This is a tale perfect for warm cuddles at bedtime or sparkling meaningful conversations in classrooms. Rediscover love and let it echo in every whispered story and shared glance. Order your copy of Daddy, What is Love and What Does Love Look Like from author Divine, available right now on barnesandnoble.com, Kobo, and Apple Books.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Oh, this is a great one with Mayor Adams. This is wonderful, Kathy. I can't wait to share this with you guys.
Finally, liberals are realizing the consequences of how they vote.
Well, it's easy to be liberal.
Let's see if they connect the dots.
See, it's easy to be liberal and virtue signal when you aren't dealing with it. And now New York City
doesn't affect
is
you exactly when it only affects Texas or Exactly.
So Mayor Adams spoke out on this. I'll play that for you in just a second, but I first want to tell you about the Thomas Edison of sleep, the inventor of the MyPillow, Mike Lindell. And I had another accident this morning in the house. And
it goes on in the morning when I'm sleeping.
It's
ready for
craziness.
work.
Well, okay.
Oh my goodness.
So you know this, Kathy. You guys don't. But in the mornings when I get up so early in the morning, I don't use the bathroom to shower in our master bedroom in the morning, so I don't wake you up.
Right.
So I use our guest bathroom.
Right.
And what I do is I like to take really hot showers. So I go into the bathroom, I turn the shower on,
right,
and then I go into the kitchen, make my coffee, get the coffee going, then come back and take a shower. And by the time I get out of the shower, the coffee's done. I take very quick showers, like really super quick. They're like they're called Marine Corps showers. I mean, I'm out like seconds. I get in and I don't have time for that. I don't have time to bathe. But anyway, I go back into I get the coffee going. I go back into the bathroom. The shower's running. The floor is soaked. I mean, it's covered in water. Luckily, we have tile. But and it was pretty deep because it was going for a while. And the shower head was pointed outward, and the shower curtain wasn't, didn't have that inner curtain over the bathtub. So anyway, I'm like, what am I going to do? So I grabbed the MyPillow towel that I was going to dry off with, and I threw it on the floor, and it absorbed it all up, Kathy.
Sure.
Just like the Bounty paper towel commercials when they're the quicker picker upper. Yeah. That's how great the MyPillow towel is. And this was the kicker, because you know what Mike Lindell says. Towels that actually work. What a concept. What a concept. Absolutely amazing. So I just dropped it on the floor. And the entire bathroom was covered in water, and it absorbed all of it. And then I was like, well, I don't have a towel now.
Get out.
So no, I had to go get a towel. So I picked up the towel and walked out to our garage, which is where our laundry is in our garage.
Are you naked, soaking wet?
I was not completely naked. I was partially naked and wet because
you got to be careful. We got tile floors.
But I walked when I walked through the entire. Not only did it absorb all the water. This is just the regular MyPillow towel. Floor was dry. I'm not exaggerating. I couldn't believe this. I picked up the towel, walked it all the way across our entire house to our laundry room, which is in our garage, and it did not drip any of that water out. Not only did it absorb all the water, the MyPillow towel kept it. And you know how it is with regular towels. First off, it doesn't absorb the water like this. It just spreads it around a lot. And then when you pick up the towel, the water's dripping off of it. You know what I'm talking about? Not with the MyPillow towel. I couldn't believe.
And that's really, and don't laugh. That's really important because you do not want to have a slippery floor. Bathroom accidents happen, and those floors, they get slippery, and you fall and conk your head open. And
it's absolutely amazing. So the MyPillow towel set, of course, there's a great special going on right now with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at mypillow.com. You can get the entire 6-piece MyPillow towel set for 50% off, just $39.99, and they come in a whole bunch of different colors. So go check that out. Promo code Kane, Kane at mypillow.com. Okay,
I want to tell you a crazy story real quick that my mom told me today.
Okay.
My mom, lives in a condo. She's retired. She's 81 almost. Be 81 this month. And everybody in her development's like over 75. And she told me a story about this guy that lives upstairs. This is nuts. This is like out of Final Destination, okay? He sprayed a cockroach in his kitchen with bug spray.
Yeah.
And, bug spray is oily.
Yeah.
You have to wipe it off the floor because it's extremely oily. He did not know that, and he slipped on the spray, the liquid, hit his head on the tile floor, ended up going to the emergency room. They had to drill a hole in his brain.
Oh,
I'm not joking. It was swelling. He's had 2 strokes, and he's like unconscious in the hospital, and he's probably not going to make it because he killed a freaking bug.
Did he even kill it?
Yes, but he did not know. I don't know if that's a lawsuit, but
against himself.
Bug spray is slippery.
Oh, you mean against the bug spray company? No, please.
He stepped in the spray. It was on the floor.
That's crazy.
He probably sprayed it everywhere. Can you imagine? He's just because he killed a cockroach. And now he's now he's probably going to die.
So
I couldn't believe that story.
No, that's crazy. So let me get back to Mayor Adams.
Got to be careful, people.
So New York City has been a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants for since such things have existed. And it's very easy to be a sanctuary city when you're not giving sanctuary to very many people.
It's good on paper.
It's called virtue signaling.
That's right.
You're not really doing it. You're pretending to do something. So
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, started busing people all over the place.
Genius move.
And when this first happened, the left and the media were attacking him and, oh, this is a stunt and it's just a few people. Well, here we are a year and a half later, 2 years later. I don't know how long he's been doing this. And Mayor Adams and New Yorkers are talking about securing the border now. So let me play this audio. This is Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams was speaking to a group about this problem. Listen to what he has to say.
And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we get Ecuador. Now we get Russian speaking coming through Mexico. Now we getting Western Africa. Now we getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We have a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us?
Wow. Well, he's talking like Donald Trump here.
You know, and there's
Mayor Adams,
there's nothing you can do. The federal government has decided, or that they're going to bring these people in, and this is a genius move by Greg Abbott because most people, it's human nature, they don't really care about something unless it affects them personally. And once it affects them personally, then they start to care. And I just showed you an article. This Border Patrol agent just revealed the government is giving illegals $2,200 a month per illegal.
Yes.
They're giving them of our money, plus free housing, free medical care. This is insanity. But liberals, I'm telling you, are so hardcore, they will still vote liberal. They could have somebody moving into their freaking house, okay, and they still are going to vote blue. These people are insane. They will, maybe not everybody. I know there was a woman on the news the other day in Chicago complaining about this black woman, how they're moving them in across the street and there's all kinds of crime and they can't handle it. I'm sure she voted Democrat, and because she's in Chicago and she's a black woman, is she going to keep voting Democrat? That's what they should have asked her. Probably. The Democrats are not going to fix this problem. And there's so many different theories as to why they're allowing this to happen, because believe me, they could stop this anytime. They could stop this in a week, but they're letting this happen. And I think it's for several reasons. I think they want to change the demographics of the country. I think they want to bring in people that are from a third world country that depend on the government completely so they can control them. And what else? What other reason would you think of that?
Well, turn Texas blue. But what's going on here in New York City
it's not just Texas now.
Is really amazing, because New York City is considered a place that's a liberal Democrat. Yep. Nothing can be done about it. And I'm not so sure that's the case now. And what you see going on in New York City has got to be waking people up.
Do you think it's going to flip people to red? Maybe it will. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope to God it does.
Yeah, and Mayor Adams that's like right out of a Trump rally in some respects. Some of what he's saying.
You got to give the guy credit for being honest.
Wow, I'm not going to give Mayor Adams credit.
No, but he's a liberal guy, and you got to give him credit for telling it like it is. And he is flat out coming out and saying, we need to do something about this, and we need to organize together and do something to stop this. And, what do? You have the federal government bringing these people in. What can you do you have to elect people that are going to put an end to this. I think this will be a huge issue on the ballot for next year, I would hope, because this is affecting so many people around the country now. And busing these people to these other cities, like you said, on paper it looks good, but once they actually have the problem in their own hands, in their own backyard, they're really pissed about it. And they're not happy, but that's what they need to understand, that this is what Texas has been dealing with. When you live in New York and Texas is on TV complaining, you don't care because it's not affecting you. But once it comes into your backyard, they're like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, well, it's really miraculous. And who would have thought that this kind of discussion would be happening by a Democrat mayor in New York City? I mean, maybe when Giuliani was mayor, because he was Republican. But this is crazy.
I think it's an issue that most people on both sides can get behind and agree upon.
A lot of people in Texas I hear from don't like Greg Abbott because he's in with the Bush family. And I understand that, but the Bushes run Texas. Mm-hmm. Ted Cruz is in with the Bush. You can't be Ronnie Jackson may have he may be a little independent because he was kind of a Washington doctor for a long time, an admiral and everything. But if you are a mover and shaker in Texas politics, you got to have some connection to the Bush family, unfortunately. But what Greg Abbott is doing is really genius. And I think Greg Abbott could be a very good running mate for Donald Trump as vice president, or maybe the head of Homeland Security. He put these buoys in the Rio Grande to stop people from swimming. A federal judge ordered him to remove them. I don't know if he will, if he's going to appeal it. I don't know. But these buoys he's put out there have really slowed down illegal immigration across those parts of the river, which is amazing. And there are only certain parts. You can't just cross everywhere on the river. I'm sure there's some areas that are easier to cross than others because of the terrain to get there, the depth of the river at this point. You know what I mean? So the buoys are strategically placed, and they've been very effective. And I just think what Greg Abbott has done on this issue is pretty spectacular. A lot of you in Texas that don't like him, I'm sure your reasons are valid. I don't know, but I don't live in Texas. I'm just seeing from the outside what he's got. He's gotten the mayor of New York City to talk like Donald Trump about the southern border. Mayor. Very liberal mayor. And I think it's great. We're going to take our last break. When we come back, there is a lot more to talk about, okay? I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
Gamers, gaming enthusiasts, and chatters alike. Are you ready for the ultimate gaming community? Then check out Frank and Big Gulp Gaming on YouTube. They aren't just about playing, they're about connecting. If gaming's your passion, this channel is for you. They interact in real time during their live streams and with the comments left on the channel. You can experience the thrill of daily gaming shorts, multiple live streams each week, and a chance to be a part of a community that truly values your voice. Whether you're discussing the latest gaming strategy, sharing a fun anecdote, or even venturing beyond the world of gaming, Frank and Big Gulp are here for it all. Your opinions, your chats, your passion, it all matters, because in their community, every voice levels up to the game. Subscribe right now. Frank and Big Gulp Gaming on YouTube. Game on, chat on. Are you dreaming of wealth and think it's all about dollar signs? Money is essential for sure, but what if there's more to wealth than just cash? The Wealth Academy podcast believe that wealth is more than just money. This podcast covers the true meaning of wealth. Hosted by Paul Lawrence Van, you will journey to the heart of what makes life rich. From a sound mind, body, and spirit to the beauty of love, understanding, and deep connections, you'll discover the facets of wealth that money can't buy. Host Paul Lawrence Van offers solo insights and engaging interviews. If you think money is all you need, think again. Add the Wealth Academy podcast to your podcast playlist and redefine wealth with a broader perspective. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you get your podcast, or visit wealthacademypodcast.com. Subscribe now and embark on a journey to the true meaning of wealth. The Wealth Academy podcast with host Paul Lawrence Van. Start listening right now, because life's riches are more than just about money. From author Donna Silvera comes a book that's a journey into the mysteries of the end times, now available on Amazon. This is your last warning. For centuries, religions have prophesied the end of days. This must-read book discusses the vivid signs that our world is nearing its destiny. Drawing on the church's authority, the book examines text, apocalyptic visions, and contemporary revelations, connecting history and culture, offering a unique perspective on prophecies, deepening comprehension and relevance. Combining church teachings and prophecies, This Is Your Last Warning is a comprehensive narrative of what's to come. This Is Your Last Warning from author Donna Silvera is available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Order your copy right now. From the imaginative mind of author Johnny Nevermind comes the new book, The Demiurged, a hip-hop conspiracy fable, now available on Amazon. Imagine a world where menace to society collides with the Matrix and Disney Pixar's Soul, all set to the rhythm of hip-hop. From the gritty streets of Pomona, California, to the mystique of the Philippines, journey through a realm of gangs, mysteries, and untold romances. But that's not all. Unveil mind-bending conspiracies, military secrets, and a message so crucial it might just be the wake-up call humanity needs as shadows loom. This novel is a thrilling comic book-paced adventure at first glance, but dig deeper and its horrifying truth will grab your soul. It's a revelation of our ancient adversaries, our world's clandestine resets, and the key to breaking free. This is just the beginning. Book one of a two-part series that promises to uncover humanity's hidden truths and the path to our salvation. Are you ready to embark on the journey? Then order your copy of The Demiurged, a hip-hop conspiracy fable from author Johnny Nevermind. Available on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and all major online booksellers.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Before we get started, I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. You guys make this show possible, and your support is greatly appreciated. And if you are a Patreon supporter, make sure you check out the Patreon page because there's all kinds of exclusive content there that Kath and I upload, including commercial-free editions of every podcast episode. But there's a lot of other exclusive content for Patreon supporters there all of the time. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the episode description, as well as a direct link on my website, briancraigshow.com. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode, okay? So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P, Richard, David, Heather, Arctic Fox, John, Paulette, Carlos, Melissa, and Maria in Texas. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you for your support. Okay, so things for Biden are so bad, even CNN is bashing him with Dana Bash. Listen to this. I want to play this audio. This is Dana Bash at the beginning of her broadcast today. I've never heard anything like this from CNN, especially Dana Bash about a Democrat.
Today on Inside Politics, there is no way to spin this. CNN reads the country's mood right now and finds that America is deeply unhappy with Joe Biden. Most Democratic voters hope for a change at the top of the ticket, and Americans don't take the president at his word when he talks about his son, Hunter.
I mean, my goodness. So that's CNN saying that he's a liar, that Biden's a liar. Americans don't trust him. When have you heard CNN talk that way about a sitting president, especially in this day and age with the rise of Trump that they're so worried about?
They also reported
crazy.
Here, CNN, 58% of Americans say Biden's policies have worsened the economic conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a CNN poll. So that's about 60% of people. Bidenomics is just ridiculous. And I was telling you how groceries I've been talking about are so expensive.
Yep.
And I do the grocery shopping on Instacart just because I'm disabled and it's easier for me. And I know the prices are a little higher on there because you pay for the convenience. But just relatively, I've been shopping on Instacart for the last 3 years. It started with COVID. Those prices have gone up. It is insane. And I buy a lot of the same things every week, okay? Most people do. It is insane how much things cost. And for Biden to go on TV and Jean-Pierre, who broke up with her girlfriend, by the way, for them to go on TV and tell you that the economy is doing great and that people are not suffering, that is just a flat out. You guys know. Everybody buys food. Everybody buys groceries. There's certain things people across the board can come together on, and the top two for me are gas and groceries, because that's something everybody pays for the most part. It's gas, maybe not as much, but food, everybody buys food. And when you go to the grocery store, because you budget yourself, and I would say we are spending every week probably $75 to $100 more a week than we were 2 years ago.
Oh, at least.
Because of Biden now, from when Trump was in office. No doubt about it. I buy mostly the same stuff, the same lunch meat, the same bread, the same milk, the same eggs, bananas, no doubt about it. And everybody's feeling it. Gas prices, I've noticed, are going up again. They're $4 here now. And for them to go on TV, Biden just doesn't care. He lives in his own bubble. He will never acknowledge the problems of this country. He's useless. And I think CNN with this, I think they are really, and then they did an interview with Kamala the other day who said she's ready to take over. My goodness, can you imagine? I think they are really trying to get him to drop out, and I think they're putting a lot of pressure. It is never going to happen. This guy is never going to drop out, and he will run again. He does not care. Look at all the things he has done and been accused of and all the stories in the news. He does not look like he has a care in the world. It doesn't faze him. He is so ensconced in Washington. He has been there probably one of the longest running people. He's extremely comfortable there. And he knows he's untouchable, especially as long as he's president. That guy, he is gonna run again, and he's gonna want to stay in that White House. Him and his wife, they are never gonna leave and drop out and let somebody else take his place. They're stuck with him. Sorry.
Well, for CNN to talk this way about a Democrat's unheard of.
But what do you think they're trying to do? You think they're trying to get him to drop out?
They must think it's viable to plug somebody else in. I don't see quite how they think that, because no sitting president who has been passed over has that party won that election. It's just not possible. There's too many rejections. First off, if they were to do that, unless they picked Kamala, they'd have to pass her over, which would cause problems. Yeah. It's a real losing proposition, and I'm really surprised that they think that such a risky op is a way for them to win when Trump is doing so well in the polls. Now, there was a strange thing with DeSantis today, and I'll play some of it for you because the audio is not that great. He had a press conference today. It was a COVID press conference here in Florida. And he took questions, and it's very unusual for him to do this. He used to have press conferences every day in Florida. We live in Florida. They're always on the local news. But since DeSantis has been running for president, he's stopped having press conferences. But he had one today, and he took questions from some people. And this guy didn't seem to be a reporter, seemed to be just like a dude that was there. And he started blaming DeSantis for that mass shooting in Jacksonville that was right before the hurricane. And the audio of the question is not audible to hear, okay? So I'm just going to play you DeSantis's response. So the guy asked him about his role, and he said that you allowed this mass shooting in Jacksonville to happen. You allowed it to happen. Can you imagine? And then this is DeSantis's response. And it goes on, but the audio is not very clear, so I'm not going to play any more of it. But you can hear how passionate DeSantis is. He's like, I'm not going to allow you to accuse me of criminal activity. And the guy kept going back at him. DeSantis, I'm not going to allow you to do this. And I'm sorry. I think that whole thing was staged with DeSantis today.
You say that about all these
DeSantis
confrontations he has, and I think there's something to what you're saying.
DeSantis has had a few instances at his press conferences that just seem kind of strange at
they always get
in
in
speeches.
the paper.
And this week, DeSantis has taken two big hits in the news. The first one was the Wall Street Journal poll that had Trump at 59. DeSantis was at 13, and second place at 13. And then DeSantis was the lead story on the Drudge Report this morning, which I know being the lead story on the Drudge Report isn't as big as it used to be, but this has been reported elsewhere, that top donors have abandoned him, and some of his top donors from his gubernatorial campaign haven't given him any money for his presidential run. So his campaign's collapsing, and it just seems a little too convenient. All of a sudden, he's confronting a citizen who's accusing him and getting all butch and tough in a press conference. It just seems a little too convenient. I don't think that was real. I don't think it was organic.
He's had a few of these
fake
moments,
and set up.
Yeah, at these press conferences. I mean, there are hecklers and this and that, but then it always seems to be in the paper and people talk about it. Which, and they do seem, remember the women that jumped up, what they say, Jews against DeSantis or something?
Yes.
He always seems to have these events. And, it was reported in the Drudge and he is losing so many donors. And the problem with this is once you lose one big donor, the other follow, they get scared. And a lot of them are going to Trump now.
Yeah.
And his only hope is that Trump drops out, which is not going to happen, or that Trump gets convicted and gets taken off the ballots. And I think what he's hoping for is that these other people will drop off by January or December, and that he will be the only alternative. But I think Vivek is giving him a run for his money, but maybe not. But I think he feels I'll be the only alternative. Trump will not be on these ballots, and people will have to vote for me. Well, I got to tell you, if that's what they do, if they keep Trump off the ballot, I'm sorry, I'm not voting for the first time in my life. I won't vote for DeSantis. I'm not going to choose him by default. Screw him, because he's no better than any of these rhinos as far as I'm concerned. For me, it's Trump or nobody. And if they're going to play these games, and that's what they want. I don't know what else to do. They would love for us not to vote, but what else can you do?
Well,
I don't know. What do you think?
Let us know in the comments on whatever platform you're listening to us on if you think that Ron DeSantis thing was staged today.
Yeah.
It just seemed a little too convenient.
Yeah.
The timing seemed like he's got a lot of bad news, and now he wants to look all tough. I just don't buy it.
And he had a really good response right away, right off the cuff.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe a lot of those things are staged.
I don't know, but
if that
seemed
he's
odd
not
to
the
me.
only one who probably stages those kinds of things.
Doesn't make
either.
it right. Trump doesn't stage anything. He doesn't have to.
These, like you've told me, even comedians and stuff. I know this doesn't happen with you, but a lot of comedians have hecklers that are staged.
Yes,
they'll have people in the audience that are their friends. We saw a movie where they showed that in a documentary about a comedian. And this guy, this actor was his friend. Remember the guy from Big Time Rush? And he said, yeah, I was a regular heckler in his audience, and he's like one of my best friends. It was all planned.
Yeah, that's true.
These kinds of things,
Ringers. They're called ringers.
The ringers, exactly.
They're ringers. Yeah, so I just don't buy this. I think it's a little too convenient with Ron DeSantis. And I don't know if – I don't want to think that I have DeSantis derangement syndrome. I don't think I do. I don't like DeSantis, even though I
think it's
voted
justified
for him.
your concerns.
But it just seemed a little too convenient. Well, listen, we are all out of time for today, but we will be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll talk to you next time.